Hello folks, you're all very welcome back to the Talk from the Terrace podcast on both Celtic Fanzine TV and on audio on the Celtic Soul podcast. So please hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss an episode. In this episode I'm joined by former secretary of the Celtic Supporters Association, Eddie Tono. It's been a while, Eddie, since you've been in for a chat. You're very welcome back to the show, and another cup final to look forward to the weekend. Now the last cup final we had you on before we had that quadruple treble win with penalties, a late show. Wasn't exactly good for the heart, but an empty stadium. But you just told me there offline before we come on that the game will go ahead. There'll be no restrictions. It will be a full stadium, because as we enter into these uncertain times again, it's great to know that my antigen test and my flight will not be a waste of money. So Eddie, you're very welcome back to the show.
No, it's nice to be back. It must be a year. This time last year we were anticipating the Scottish Cup, so we've got the League Cup final this season. A cup final every December would be nice. It's a nice warm-up for Christmas. And the big question on everyone's lips who would have tuned into that show, Eddie, do you buy a new shirt for the League Cup final? Well, I don't. I've the Scottish Cup final only. League Cup final, you're just not too sure, because the weather could be a bit inclement. We've been in the winter; it's always a bit colder. You can plan your outfit for the Scottish Cup final for a nice sunny day in May. Yeah, the League Cup's a bit different. Maybe you should get yourself a green duffel for Sunday. Yeah, I'm sure I've got an old one in a wardrobe somewhere. So, Eddie, do you think Ange can deliver that first trophy to us on Sunday? Yeah, I'm hoping so. Obviously we're under a wee bit of pressure at the moment in terms of squad numbers and who's available to us and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see what the team's going to be. But I never take anything for granted, particularly around the League Cup, because it's a bit of a tournament I've had a bit of a love-hate relationship with. Since I remember in the early days of starting to go. My first League Cup final was in 1971 when we got hammered with Partick Thistle, and that was a great Celtic team. And Partick Thistle slaughtered us 4-1. I think I'd been to 3 League Cup finals before. It was actually on the 4th where I actually seen us winning a game when we beat Hibs 6-3 and Dixie Dean's got a hat-trick. The 3 previous to that, we were always strong favourites and lost all 3. So I'm always a bit wary when it comes to League Cup final. It took us a long time, I think, to settle into the League Cup. The 1970s wasn't great for the League Cup final. So, yeah, I'm not taking anything for granted, but I'm hopeful. I think, Eddie, but Brendan Rodgers put those demons to the back of our minds. He said, no, it's all that's history, and he went on, and every visit he had, and his team, I suppose, after that, for 4 years, we won the League Cup. So hopefully that luck stays with us on Sunday. Brendan Rodgers, he delivered them league titles. He put an end to those, as I say, the old timers when they were, the League Cup, this, that, there's a spell on us. John Fallon always spoke about all those years with the League Cup, how it was the hardest for Celtic to win. But I think they're in the back of our mind now. Well, I'm hoping so. Certainly in recent years we've had a much better loving with the League Cup. Obviously we've had quite a bit of success in recent years, and that sort of coincided with the quadruple treble. So yeah, hopefully we're buried the hoodoo that surrounded the League Cup final, but for me it's still there, and that's why I'm always a bit wary getting into League Cup finals. I never take them for granted. So we've got to get out there and earn it, but with Tony Ralston being in the form, then anything's possible. You mean Ralston Aldo? That's the one. Eddie, does Paul Lambert was on the TV during the week on one of the Sky Sports programmes, and he was chatting about Ange, and he says he draws some similarities to when Wim Jansen came to the club, and obviously Wim won his first trophy was the League Cup as well, and then went on to on that glorious sunny day in paradise when he stopped the 10 and we won the league, and
What a night that was going down the Gallagher.
Absolutely.
But do you draw any comparisons, or has it been, have you thought back to those Wim Jansen, that one Wim Jansen year, and what he came into and what Ange had to come into, and the rebuild they both had to do, and both of them in League Cup finals, and the chance for Ange to...
I think you can. I think that's a fair comparison. Obviously, Wim came in at a time, and we started rebuilding to Wim come in, to be fair. We had the Tommy Burns years, and then we lost a few players, but I think we were getting towards a bit of stability on the park, and Wim came in and sort of in the 98 season got us over the line. Obviously, the winning the League Cup at Ibrox that day was fantastic, and again, I don't think we'd won the League Cup for 15 years at that point, 16 years prior to that. So there was a great sense of relief when Wim came in. So I'm not quite sure of the comparison in that regard in terms of such a long, barren spell. We haven't no won a title for so long and no won the League Cup, won Scottish Cup in 95 and all that time. We have had periods of, massive periods of success in recent years, but clearly where the comparison is Ange just came in and had to rebuild almost completely, starting off from scratch. The squad's unrecognisable for the squad that played in the Scottish Cup final at this time last season. My concern for Sunday is that, just the injuries we have and, and how we're going to line up. And, we're getting over the line at the moment, and we're just getting over the line in games, and it's great. And it's admirable given, the demands in the squad and the fact that we're missing so many key players. But I think if we can win on Sunday, it also, might give us the boost that Wim's team got as well, so I think there's a comparison there. I think everybody would get a huge lift by Ange winning his first trophy. It'd be great winning one trophy when you're rolling in the door. Apparently, in this country, you're a genius if you win one trophy every 3 or 4 years if you're managing other clubs, but Ange's only been in the door 5 minutes, and we're in our first final, and we're looking good for it. So yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, injuries, and but the captain's still there. Have you been impressed by Callum this season?
Captain's been immense, hasn't he? He's just never let us down. I'll tell you the game that really stood out for me about how good Callum is was a couple of weeks ago at Tannadice, sitting in the shed behind the goal there, and just watching his movement and how he drives the team on, how he shuts other teams down, and absolutely fantastic. For me, he's been the player of the season so far. There's been other contenders, obviously Jota's been a great addition, Kyogo is fantastic. Mentioned Anthony Ralston earlier on as well, been completely outstanding. But for me, the man of the season so far has been Callum McGregor, and he is the one bit of stability we've had through the more recent successful years. And he knows what it's like to go to Hampden, and he'll be hammering, he'll be impressing to all these other guys who are maybe experiencing it for the first time, and the importance of the occasion. And I fully expect him to be crucial again when it comes to Sunday.
Yeah, it's great to see him, kicking into that role, because Scott Brown was there for so long, and there was pressure on him coming into the captain's role. And I had David Potter on doing a little tribute to Bertie, and he spoke about that great midfield of Bertie and Bobby Murdoch, and he spoke about Paul McStay, but he said he puts Callum McGregor not quite in that mould yet, but he said he could be, because he said he's just outstanding. And David's seen even more midfielders than you at the club, Eddie. So great compliment from David.
It's a huge compliment for somebody with the knowledge of David. Anytime I listen to David, I'm always impressed with his football knowledge. It's incredible, and if he's saying that about Callum, then I'm not going to sit here and argue with him. He's turned out to be. I always thought he'd be a good captain. He was always, for me, it looked like the natural successor to Bruni. I think he gets a bit of help. There are other players in that squad who are real leaders as well, notably the goalkeeper. Great organisers, at the back. He seems to keep his defence. I think Carol Starfelt's really coming on to a game. Cameron Vickers looks decent, and all that. So there are lots of leaders, I think, now in that squad, but Callum's head and shoulders above them all, and it's important, I think, for Celtic that you have that continuity. Here's a guy who's come through the ranks at the club, you know, product of the youth system. And maybe guys like Ralston take the lead for, you know, for Callum as well. Had to go out on loan. It's very, very rare there's a player go out on loan and then come back and be a big success at the club. And Callum is an example of that could happen. And hopefully, you know, people like Ralston and maybe others that's out on loan at the moment can take the lead for that and come back and kick on as well, you know.
Yeah, I chatted to Callum, one of the pressers, a couple of weeks ago, and he said, you know, that when he went to Notts County, at Celtic he had everything as a young player, you know, he had all the supports. But he said when he went to Notts County, he realised that there was players there, and, you know, the bonus was the difference between them paying their mortgage and not paying their mortgage. And, you know, he said he really had to grow up, and it opened his eyes. And when he came back, I remember when he missed the goal in Germany against Borussia Mönchengladbach, I was cursing him that day, like, coming out of the stadium, because it could have been another win in Germany that got away, and I was cursing him. But I could never have imagined that night when we settled in for a point back in I forget where we went. I think we went back to Dusseldorf. But I remember, you know, I was talking about the game, and I could never have imagined he was going to have the career that he's had at the club and win the amount of trophies, and now he's in the driving seat as captain. But you mentioned another one, Tony Ralston. I think I've told this story before. We were going to a cup final, I can't remember which one it was. Tony was out on loan, and he was in, it must have been the Scottish Cup final, and he was in Dublin on a weekend with his mates, and he was on the same flight as us going back to Glasgow on the Sunday or Saturday morning, whatever it was. And I asked him, was he going to the game? And he didn't have a ticket. You know, he was still on Celtic's books, but he was on loan. He was the forgotten man, the most forgotten man.
Did you phone Hilly and sort him out then, did you?
Yeah, well, there was a few phone calls, but I think he ended up watching it with his mates. They were, I think they had a good night on the Saturday night or the night before. But Eddie, like, now he's cemented a place for himself. He's in that squad. He's been outstanding. No, like, and he is. I'm just so delighted for him because, you know, the ups and downs he's had. You know, from he came into the team force. We all remember the Neymar game against Barcelona and that, and then he was out on loan, and no manager really gave him a chance. And then Ange comes in. Ange hasn't a lot to play with at the start of the season. He gives him his chance. He grabs it with both hands and both feet. And then on Wednesday night in Dingwall, what a way to win a game, Eddie.
Oh, incredible. I was sitting a few minutes before it, 2 rows to the back of the stand there with my head in my hands and starting to think. Because my take on this is we need to stay on their coattails right up to January, and we need to win in January. And I was sitting there really, turned to Jeanette and says, this is not happening. I don't see the goal coming. And I really felt I was getting more agitated and more angry as the time the clock was ticking and ticking. And just a huge feeling, a sense of relief. And for me, it's one of the most vital last-minute goals we'll score, and it could be so, so crucial. And it's great to see somebody like Ralston getting it. But for me, he's a great story, because if you remember, when Ralston came into the team, it was him and Tierney were going to be the two superstars, the right back and the left back, and the comparisons were always there. And I remember both of them, even when they were younger than that in the youth squads, and people used to talk about who was the best player amongst the two of them. And then obviously Kieran kicked on, just so quickly and matured so quickly, and for me Kieran Tierney's a world-class defender, there's no doubts about it, and his rise was meteoric. Anthony Ralston said to take a different route. He said to go out and loan a couple of times. He's came back in, probably got back into the squad by default. The squad was in the bare bones at the start of this season, but he claimed that number 2 position, and it's his to lose now. As far as I'm concerned, I know Juranovic was one of our big sort of marquee signings, if you like, in money Ange's players, but that's Tony Ralston's position right now, and it's up to other players to try and come and take it off him, but he doesn't look like relinquishing it any time soon. He's putting in He's defending well. He's getting up the park. I don't know about 5 or 6 goals he scored already this season. And, it's phenomenal. And it's a great story. And the great thing about it is he's clearly, a Celtic kid. He was brought up in the traditions of Celtic. He's a Celtic fan. And it's always important, despite, having all these wonderful foreigners coming into the club and doing great things. For me, it's really important that we have kids like that in our team. You need to have that link to our roots and our community and stuff like that. And you always need people like that in the dressing room. And I hope he's here for a long time, and I hope he continues to improve and perform the way he is, because for me, you can't get enough players through your own youth academy and into your first team. It's just great to see. Yeah,
and I didn't get a ticket for the game. I didn't get out in the ballot, but I only got back from Glasgow on Monday after Sunday's game, and I have to say I had a good night. My son was over with me and his mates, and I think I rolled back the years in the Brazen Head on Sunday evening, and I was probably struggling a bit Monday, and I was probably kind of happy then that I wasn't getting up at, to get the fly on Wednesday and get the bus up. I was kind of happy I didn't get a ticket, and so I'm watching the game, and I hate watching games at home because last season just done me head in. I'm watching the game, and then I turn around and I said to Sam, I says, and I used this line, I says, I fucking hate watching games at home. I says, at least if you're there, you can feel, even if you lose, you can feel bad for, or draw, you feel bad for going down the road. But I says, I'm going to go to bed now in bad form, because it was coming to the end of the game. We got the corner, and I hadn't even seen if it was a penalty claim or not, but I'm screaming penalty because, it's just the emotions. But the camera goes into the corner, and John Paul Taylor's in the corner. He's not in the stand.
It's in the clip, yeah.
And I don't know what he's saying. But he's obviously encouraging him. And I just thought,
I texted JP and says, you have to take the credit. I seen your encouragement sparked the whole thing, so.
But it was brilliant. And I just wish the camera had to run back to him. Because I leapt off the sofa and the dog done a run. And I was dancing around the sitting room. And I'm not a fan of Twitter already. I don't go on Twitter after games because of last season.
Yeah.
But I went on Facebook, and I actually took about 50 screenshots of people's comments, and they were just absolutely. I read them all the next day. They were just amazing. Yeah. And one of them was a bloke that said, "I've got COVID. And I've been, laid down all week," he says, "and I'm just after jumping up," he says, "and I think I've thrown the Christmas tree out the window." Something to those effects. It was absolutely brilliant.
I'm sure there was a few televisions going out the window for folk for the other side of it. To be honest, I don't know about Christmas trees, but I'm sure there was a few tellies going out the window. And it was bedlam. We were, as I just says, we were in the second back row, and that we stand behind the goal, and we're coming out against Stadium, and Jeanette says, probably quite lucky we were in the second back row, because I think had we been any nearer the pitch, we would have been on the pitch as well, So, I know there's been a bit of negative press about the celebrations. As you always give me negative press for everything, but, it was just sheer exuberance and stuff like that. There was no mal. In fact, I looked at the pitch invasion. There was actually 2 young fellas, kids, and they came for the Ross County end of the ground in a sort of a stand opposite the dugouts, right out the middle at the halfway line, right in, and they were involved in the melee as well. And then at the end of it, they legged it back and got back into their end of the ground. I don't know if there were a couple of young Celtic fans from up that way or what, but it was just fantastic. It was just the sheer joy, the magic of the moment, and it made the trip down the road a lot easier, because, as I say, I was sitting there a few minutes before thinking, fucking 4-hour journey, by 2 in the morning, and you're anticipating, are we going to win the league? How do we get back into this title race? And it just made the journey so much more enjoyable and so much easier and quicker, probably. We had a couple of young fellas that were booked onto the bus, no members of their club, and we seem to have lost them. They never came back in the bus, but their bags were there, and I was saying, how are we going to fucking get these bags back? And then eventually the young fella appeared about 20 minutes after everybody else. And what happened? He says, I was on the pitch, he says, and then I dropped my phone, he says, but I ran off and get back in. He said, I didn't realise I dropped my phone. I was back in the stand, and then I could see my phone almost in the 18-yard line. I was trying to work out a way how I was going to get back on the pitch to get it. But eventually he did. Apparently a steward gave him it back. And I have to say, I thought, I thought the stewards and stuff like that up there that probably dealt with most of that fairly decently. I'm sure one or two people might have other stories to tell, but for me it was all good spirited. It was it was just sheer joy in the emotion of the occasion. It was absolutely magic.
And from me saying, before the game, I'm kind of glad I didn't go now. Good night's sleep, and get over Sunday's game now, and I'll be ready to go for the cup final again. And I was saying, geez, I wish it wasn't that bus now coming down the road, and I would have been getting on a flight nearly straight away, so I wouldn't. I would have been exhausted yesterday, but that put me in mind of when Ado Baric saved that penalty against Moscow.
Definitely.
That was. I had that kind of feeling, it was just amazing and just great to have it. But and to see everyone, I think you're always going to get people criticising fans going on the pitch, but I think that was I don't, because it's just the moment. You're in the moment, and if someone goes on the pitch and you're next to them, well, you're going over that fence too,
Yeah,
Eddie, I know we're all on a high, and it was great celebrations, and there is a certain togetherness between the players, the fans, and the manager at the moment. And I said it to Joe Hart at the press conference the other day. I said to him, how he was enjoying it, and he's loving it, and obviously he's in front of the fans, and he's loving every minute of it. But we do have the I suppose the whole Bernard Higgins thing hanging over us at Celtic Park, with the silence at the games, and it's just one of the things, Eddie, that there hasn't been much dialogue. There hasn't been any comments from the club. It's still hanging over us. Have we heard anything, Eddie? Is there going to be talks, or have they said, yeah, he's getting the job, or nay, he's not getting the job?
Well, fair, absolutely nothing. And for me, that's the big problem. I mean, the people who have it in their gift to put this whole thing to bed are Michael Nicholson, Ian Bankier, they are the PLC board. They could just bury this with the stroke of a pen. They could pick up the phone and say, let's organise a quick meeting, or, and for some reason they've chosen not to do that. Why have they chosen not to do that? I don't know, because you're right, there is a togetherness at the moment. I think the fans are galvanised for the first time in a long time. There's a real sense of unity, and this is starting to show wee seeds again of a bit of disharmony, and and people have clearly had opposing views in relation to the merits of silent protests, and and I'm not going to get into that in any great deal. I've got my own views on that, but the thing is, you either get involved in these things or you don't. If you don't agree with a silent protest, you can go to the stadium and sing your heart out. But the people who could just bury all this and really send out a clear message and keep that unity going and keep that level of support going are the board. And for some reason, they've chosen to say absolutely nothing. And I'm bemused as to why. I mean, my take on the Higgins thing is I really believe that I can't see that he'll get this job at this stage of the game. I'd be amazed if he starts in that position. Whether he's been offered the position or no, I don't know. I understand that he has, but I'm no privy to any of that official information. So, but it just seems absolute madness that they've allowed this to fester and bubble away for so long. On the back of a huge campaign where all the supporters groups for the first time in a long time are unified. There's a statement goes out for them all. So you've got the Supporters Association, the Irish Association, the Affiliation, the Celtic Trust, the Green Brigade, the Boys. I'm not even sure if I've missed any, but they're all fairly unified in their opposition to this. I went to an association delegates meeting only 4 or 5 weeks ago, and this subject came up, and I was amazed at the unanimous support for the campaign to oppose Bernard Higgins, even from some of the old-timers, if you like it, the association were expected to back the board on this one. So it cuts across the whole fan base. You see people in the main stand and stand up if you hate Higgins and all the chants, and you've seen all the supporters club banners. So this campaign has been led by the supporters groups, but it's supported across the board. There's been an email campaign to the chief executive or the acting chief executive. Tons of people written to him. Not one have been afforded the courtesy of reply. Is this the start of his tenure as the chief executive? What is it he's doing? It leads to who's actually calling the shots. Is it the absentee landlord? I don't know, but what's the end game for the board here? Is it about them showing that, we're not going to bow to fan pressure and we're just going to do our own thing anyway? None of it's very good PR. None of it's very good for club supporter relations, and I'm not quite sure how they're going to find a way out of this, but it's up to them to find a way. It's not up to the fans. These protests will continue. They're not going to go away. The silent protests might have been tried and we might move on to something else. But people are not going to go away. People are not going to just roll over and accept Bernard Higgins walking into this position. So there's going to need to be a solution. The only people who can come up with a solution are the people who are running our club. And I just can't believe that they haven't taken it upon themselves to sort this out soon, because as you say, if I was running the club at the moment, I'd be wanting to really cash in on this feel-good factor at the moment. The links that have become between the squad and the fans, the manager's playing his role there, the players are getting involved, the fans are really backing them, the fans are unified, and we've got this bubbling away in the background. Let's bury it, put it to bed and move on. Let's make a real statement and let's say, look, we understand your concerns, and on this occasion we're going to move on, we're going to look at another candidate for the job, and sends out a great signal and keeps everybody on board, and then we're all marching in the one direction.
Yeah, it does, Eddie. And from negotiations for everything, there's always a back channel, Eddie, and there doesn't even seem to be a back channel for this one. If they don't want to go public, this is the way we're going to play it, because yourself, there's been negotiations between the associations and the trust before, and when I think back to the safe standing, it's well known that it was the trust that had put all that in place and pushed for that, but the club had said, look, it's going to go ahead, but we need to announce it, and or something to that effect, if you remember, Eddie. And the trust went okay, because the most important thing was to get the safe standing section in. And that's there, and it's been a great success. So, yeah, I'm disappointed that there hasn't even been a back channel, Eddie. But when I have someone like you on, Eddie, who has great knowledge of these cup finals, I want to end them. You have to have a League Cup final story for me. Maybe not as good as your Scottish Cup final story from 1995, which you shared with us in your ball boy tracksuit. But I'm sure you've got a League Cup story for us.
I have a couple of League Cup stories, but they were in the early years and they were misery. I can remember standing being 4-0 down in my first ever League Cup final with Partick Thistle, and my old man saying to us, "Don't worry, it's only 4-0. We'll turn this round in the second half." And and he convinced me we were going to win the game. You were only playing Partick Thistle, and then Kenny Dalglish scored for us to make it 4-1. And I'm thinking, okay, the comeback's on. And then by about 10 minutes, I could feel his hand on the collar of my shirt and saying, "Come on, we're going to aim the game's finished," and we get marched out. So that was my early memories of the League Cup, and then the most miserable day I ever had at a match in my life, probably, irrespective of the score, was the 1974 League Cup final when we played Dundee, and Gordon Wallace scored a goal for them to beat us 1-0, and it was probably the smallest crowd I was ever in at Ibrox. It was the most awful day, standing in the terrace and behind the goal, and in a monsoon almost, get fucking soaked to the skin, and just absolutely drenched. No crowd there. I can't even remember why the crowd was so low. I don't know if it was down to the weather or there was maybe transport strikes on or something like that. But I think Tommy Gemmell actually played for Dundee that day as well, and I just remember getting home thinking, I'm never getting back to football. This is rubbish, It's like, but for some reason, I was probably at the next game and my love affair continued. So my early memories of the League Cup final were of misery, changed a wee bit, as I say, in the 63. Yeah, sorry, the 6-3 game, I think, and was that 75, 76? And when Dixie Dean scored the hat-trick, and Joe Harper also scored the hat-trick in that game for Hibs as well. There's not many players score a hat-trick in a cup final and don't get a winner's medal. So that must have been a sore one for wee Harper. But that was we talk about, thinking games like the Dundee game put you off. You then go to a match like that as a kid and you think, yeah, this is what football's all about. It's just brilliant, and then we never won it again until 82, and when we beat the Huns 2-1, when I think Charlie Nicholas and McLeod put us 2-0. Again, another soaking, pissing rain, wet day. We beat them 2-1. That was that was the first one I could remember when we could go to the pub after the game because there was such a gap and I was only a kid at previous games. So I remember getting into the pub in Shettleston that night and having a right good sing-song and a few pints. And all great memories, but for some reason, my memories around the Scottish Cup are much fonder than they are in the League Cup. So I'm hoping there's still more memories to come. Maybe this Sunday will give me a really magical moment for the League Cup. But aye.
Well, hopefully it'll be. There won't be sunshine in Leith, and there'll be celebrations in Glasgow on Sunday, and I'll be actually heading back up the road to Edinburgh to get a flight home on Sunday evening. So maybe hopefully I'll be celebrating a Celtic win in Edinburgh.
Fair enough. I'm just heading to Edinburgh Airport now to pick a young fella up, so I might stick a Celtic tracksuit on just to let them know that. Give them a wee reminder.
Well, listen, Eddie, you know me. I don't really have a connection with the big man upstairs, but I know that your young lad has. So get him to say a few prayers for Sunday, will you? and also pray that I get me antigen result test back and I'm good to go, because there's so much hassle now trying to get over.
I'll pray for the test results are good, because I think the big man upstairs might have some influence over all of that. But as far as the football goes, in Ange we trust.
Brilliant.
He's the big man as far as we go at the moment.
Folks, more than 90 minutes, issue 118 is now sold out, so I thank everyone for buying that. You'll probably still be able to pick up a copy in Coatbridge in the Candy Store, Carlton Books in Glasgow, or Station Books in London, and you can also buy the digital edition online by visiting CelticFanzine.com. Eddie, it's been a pleasure to chat. Hopefully we get you back on again. Hopefully we win Sunday. Good celebrations. I'll be in Murphy's pre-match for Celtic AM from 12 till 2. There's plenty of Celtic chat and music, so if anyone's about the Merchant City, pop in and see us. Don't forget to visit the website CelticFanzine.com for news, articles, podcasts, Celtic Fanzine TV, Celtic AM, news on our upcoming events and our online shop. Thanks for listening, thanks for reading, and thanks for watching. And please, thank you for your continued support. And Eddie, I'll leave the last word to you.
Just hopefully, as I say, Christmas, the cup finals in the lead up to Christmas are always great. I hope everybody's a fantastic day on Sunday. I hope there's certainly going to be green and white ribbons on the cup, but hopefully going to be our green and white ribbons. I hope everybody's a fantastic day, and hope all your listeners and all the Celtic supporters out there have a fantastic Christmas. God bless every one of them.
Hail, hail, Eddie.
Cheers, Andrew.